We had 18 months to develop a car.
Hello everyone, welcome to my business education and leadership platform. Glad you're here. I am delighted this week to be welcoming Marko Šustić. Marko is currently serving as a senior human-machine interface expert for Bugatti Rimac. Prior to the Croatian automaker merging with Bugatti, Marko worked for a cumulative 6 years as a front-end developer and product manager for Rimac Automobili. He has also founded his own entrepreneurial venture, GamePerspectives, which offers web design and video editing services, a company he's been supporting since 2014. Now, Marko is currently working as a feature owner on future Bugatti models, mainly the Bugatti Chiron's successor, and he's also responsible for the development of the fastest electric hypercar, the Rimac Nevera C2. This interview dives into his decade-long plus industry experience and offers Marko's insights, greatest challenges encountered and how he overcame them, and aims to offer a pathway, basically a guide map for young professionals who wish to enter the hypercar automotive industry. Thank you, Marko, for taking the time out of your day to reflect upon your journey. Thank you for your enthusiasm to educate the young generation. I hope you enjoy the interview and mostly I hope you learn from it.
Auto industry is extremely complex, one of the complex industries. It was always a teamwork, it's not a singular one-man army. It's always collaborating between design, between management, between engineering. I became a feature owner of our Nevera car, which is now on the market, the fastest accelerating electric hypercar or car in general in the world. Or 120 people here, and we are thousands now, so it's totally different scale and different things.
I would like to welcome Mr. Marko Šustić. Marko has been a front-end web developer and a product manager for Rimac, and now for the merged Bugatti Rimac, he's currently an HMI expert. So Marko, I would like to thank you for allocating the time to talk to me and through me to all the students who will take value out of this interview.
Sure, thanks for inviting me.
No problem at all, it's my pleasure. So I've seen from your CV, you are a very unsettling spirit, positively speaking, always. You don't want to just do your regular job. You're always on the run of finding something different, kickstarting a business, as you have done for the past 8 years. You have your own business, the GamePerspectives.
Yeah.
So I want to take you back, though. I want to take you back like 10 years to the Greek studio. And I want you to talk to me about your first contact with the industry and what basically your vision was back then for your future.
So, yeah, it's a very good question. But it starts before, I would say, my role in Greek studio. So during my college, I did just the 3 years, the bachelor degree in information technology, and we had obviously like web design and web development, like basic web technologies there in college. So your HTML and CSS. And we had a professor there who was quite, let's say, strict about it. So you really had to be, you had to prepare every week, for this. But what it gave me was a very good core understanding of basics, HTML, CSS, and let's say vanilla JavaScript. So this was happening on first year of college, first and parts of the second year. And then that summer between the second and third year, let's say I had the good grades from those subjects, like core web technologies, and like a friend of a friend, how it goes. He needed a website, and I didn't have any experience prior to that, but I had this good grades from my college, and I was pretty confident. I was one of the best students in my class for these subjects, that I can do whatever it takes. And even though it was a simple website, this guy was very, he's an artist, so he was very, he had a very detailed vision in his head what he wants to have in the end. And we ended up spending the whole summer doing it. Like, it was 2 months of development daily, but it was very, a lot of effects and a lot of different stuff that he wanted, that was way past what we learned in the basics in college. So when I came back to the third year college, it was like I ran, 2 races ahead of some of, I would say, most of the others in my generation, because I had this practical experience from not just development, but from communicating with the client. He was my client at the time, so I already experienced some, I come happy to present to you what I did, and he is disappointed because it was not what he imagined. And then we go through loop, endless amount of loops until we reached something that he was in the end happy with. But it was all learning experience, because no one taught me that so far, that this is also part of the job, to communicate, to sell, to compromise on both sides, to explain to the customer the limitations of technology, why something can or cannot be done, or man, we can save 50 hours if you just make this little compromise and we simplify a thing. So yeah, when I came back to the third year with this experience, I was in a good, let's say, relationship with the college and with professors there. So I showed this work that I did for the summer, and basically they included me to be like, we call it the demonstrator, where you're helping the professors and assistants with all the classes to other students. So I was there basically every day helping other students from first and second year with their work. And yeah, towards the end of my third year, which was my last year of college, one of the assistants approached me and told me, like, there is this opportunity, this company, Creek Studio, is very young, just a couple of people, they're making good business, and like they are in the search for a web developer. Would you be open to interview there? And of course I said yes, and an interview happened. I got a task to do, and yeah, basically I got my first job like 10 days before I finished my college. So that was how that part happened.
You brought 2 very important points in what you just said. First of all, having undergraduate experience, I think it's underrated in the capacity you did it. Because a lot of students, they are looking for an employer. They're not looking for a project. But what you did basically is like an entire web developing structure. So liaising with a person who is the owner of the website, doing the web developing, On the plus side, you will liaising with an artist as well. So it gives you an extra layer of professionalism and element of responsibility to pull through their project. So then, as you mentioned, you went to your final year and you were basically a step ahead of the competition because you had that experience. Plus, on top of that, you had the element of taking an initiative because it wasn't something you applied for. It was something you wanted to do and you poured resources into it. So it gives a very different perspective to a future employer. So that landed you the opportunity with Creek Studio.
Sure, and I'm telling this to students. So my college, still to this day, every year they invite me to like give a class, like 1-2 hour presentation about basically the same thing that I'm talking here. And I always tell them, like, if you cannot find paid work, just invent something, do it from the beginning to the end, put it in your CV. You will, if you don't compromise on your initial idea, like what you said to yourself that you're going to do, you will for sure encounter stuff that you don't know how to solve, and you will solve those issues if you don't compromise on, like, make the scope smaller. You shouldn't do that. You should persevere and actually do it towards the end. But this experience, even if it was for no money, it would be a massive positive towards your end goal, which is finding an actual job.
Like, you see, these are the lessons you cannot get from necessarily from university, because you're in the industry now. So talking to students, they have a point of reference. They're like, okay, Marko is working there. Let's see his path. What kind of advice? You will give them advice that they will not necessarily take from lecturers. That's why I do these interviews. It comes like a full circle. You're doing exactly what I'm trying to do, sort of in capacity.
Sure.
So can you talk to me about the transition to SvinaWeb after Creek Studio?
Yeah. So one interesting thing I want to say, also, like a eureka moment that I had, even though I was quite good for a junior entry-level software or web development position, I still didn't necessarily see the point of a website. To me, it was, a neighbor has it, or other business has it, and therefore you need to have it, or everyone is having a website. So I didn't see the direct value of a website besides just the fact that you have a website. And when I encountered SvinaWeb, even before I started working for them, they were one of the first real online marketing agencies in Croatia, like proper ones, that were doing big budget projects and stuff. And they had this methodology that was, basically introduced me to something that's called like a conversion center design, where websites were purpose built to reduce friction and to increase conversion rate, where conversion would be when a customer leaves an email or a phone number or shows any kind of measurable interest into your product or a service on a website. So they had all this methodology about having like a questionnaires, so that once you go to the website, like, what is the best solution for my problem, and then you answer 10 questions and they give you personalized reply. And every service or a product that you were selling towards a website made by SvinaWeb was, you had landing pages. It's pretty standard and common thing now, but back then it was, let's say, a new thing. So rather than when you are Googling, I want to buy a red dress, and you land on a homepage or a contact page of a website, you would land on a landing page with dresses. And even better, if you can land on a landing page with a red dress or our offering of red dresses. And this is something that, like, blew my mind, that you can basically, if you reduce all this friction from for your visitors to the page to get to information or product or a service that they need, and if you put it really the way, to serve it as plainly as possible to them, and even if it's a little bit personalized for them, the conversion rate just goes, through the roof compared if you don't do any of that. And once I, let's say, learned about this, it was something that I really, really wanted to be a part of and learn from these guys, because how they were preaching this methodology and what they were telling, it's more, it was more, it gave purpose, let's say, more purpose to how I was applying my knowledge before. So this was something that brought me to SwinaWeb, mainly from Creek. Creek is to this day amazing company, but they do bigger projects, and it's similar, like let's make an automotive example. You in your newspaper, you have a big Mercedes one pager, just a commercial, but this one is for brand awareness. This one is not purpose built. No one is gonna see a Mercedes or if you go to some other magazines, a Rolls-Royce a commercial or whatever, to go and buy that car. No, it's a brand awareness. That's why you do it. So this is, let's say, how Creek was doing it. SwinaWeb was more applied to your everyday small businesses, and it was very practical. So this is what I loved, and this is how I made the decision to jump the ship and to start expanding my knowledge there, to apply it in a different way.
I mean, the bespoke treatment you are implying and you used in SwinaWeb, like in 2023, everyone does it. In every product line, you will see there is bespoke treatment, and it's basically automated process. Back in 2014, as you mentioned, this wasn't so well known.
Yeah, no, it was new and modern back then, and you could really make a difference, if your customer is the only one who has this kind of marketing done compared to the rest of the market, they have like massive advantage. Today is a bit more difficult.
So that's why you're all shifted into a product focused capacity in SwinaWeb.
But yes, however, I did not in the beginning there, I wasn't aware of it. So I was super into, I'm a software engineer, super, into, I'm a web developer mindset. So I wasn't even, my problems and my Google searches were how to solve the coding problems. I wasn't, looking for a new career. However, my college degree, information technology, is also a design part, so it was heavy on the design, and I am very visual person. That's why I chose front-end web developer rather than some back-end, where in front-end, in under 5 seconds now I can code something and it's going to show a square of a certain color in a browser. So it works with me. It's very visual, and I like visual things, and I like modeling visual things. So when in SwinaWeb I was working with designers, and we are trying to solve an issue for a customer. It wasn't just, I wasn't just giving my inputs based on, it would be easier for me to develop if we don't use a certain arrow type or whatever. Let's reduce the number of fonts. It was already giving some inputs like, man, this could work better, or I can code this and some example, and it would be even smoother experience. Can we add this into design? So I was giving product inputs, even though I wasn't even aware that product is a thing, and I would argue that back then it even wasn't a thing, But the first big, let's say, product thing that I did, again, not knowing that I did it as a coding exercise, was, unfortunately, how market goes, ups and downs. The company ran into some issues, and let's say we were spending too much money developing a website compared to return. The name SwinaWeb, it's basically in Croatian, it's 3 words: svi na web. Svi means everyone, na means on, and web is web, so everyone on web. And we really wanted to get the pricing, the entry price point low, so that everyone who has a small, a micro business can go there and have a website. But because if you just do some WordPress template with loads of plugins and themes and stuff, you run into issues with hacking the websites. So we had a lot of instability before my time in SwinaWeb. There were some issues. So when I came, I went to full custom development, which increased the quality like through the roof, but it slowed us down. So instead of spending a week on a website, we were spending 3 weeks on a website, which was something that within our mission and price range was not working. And when the company ran into these issues, I really gave it a thought, like, what can I do to make something that will allow copywriters and designers to create websites that are of our quality and standard that we want, without the need for me or the rest of the coding team, which are more expensive, to go there and spend 100 hours on a website. So within the company, we arranged this great designer Ivor to create like a framework of this conversion center designs. Again, today it's very familiar, like block based, like Legos.
Yeah, it's standardized process. Back then in 2014, 2015, it wasn't.
It wasn't. So
No.
So we created this block based design for a website, and I coded it into, basically it was WordPress, but the complete admin panel of WordPress was custom built to enable very simple adding of these blocks and building a block based websites very quickly. And we basically through this we allowed our copywriters and designers to sit together, just bootstrap by like one clicking, and the new website is generated. And they add colors, they add font and logo in one page, like you fill this form in, and then they just use blocks like Legos, and they built this whole websites, like hundreds of them, using this website builder that was made there. And this was my, let's say, first bigger applied product work. But again, not from the point of I'm a product manager and I'm going to do this, but from a point where the company has a problem, I figured out potential solution for it, and I knew how to code it. So it was, I was coding it to it was always from a software developer perspective, not from I want to be a product manager there. So
I mean, it's from a hardcore engineering perspective as well, because what are engineers? They are problem solvers.
yeah,
And people who have problem solving capabilities and they can pull through applied product projects like you, they can become serious assets in companies. So that adversity you were up against, do you believe that made you an asset in the future companies you work for, Rimac and Bugatti Rimac? Did it play a role?
for sure, it was something that's like a piece of my experience that I mentioned always. And yeah, it was, yeah, I think for sure it did. Yeah, it had a positive impact on me personally, just the way now I'm thinking always immediately, about problems, more than I did back in a day. But even from the experience and CV point of view, you have this product like behind you. So.
And when does the automotive passion for you start? How do you match front-end web developing and product management with cars?
So, I mean, automotive cars in general is like passion,
Yeah.
since the day you're born, so
I know.
I loved cars. I was, let's say, very fortunate that when I was a kid, my dad now and then managed to bring some cars at home to show to me, and I was always interested in impressed by cars.
Mhm.
And in parallel to, let's say, me working in Svinaveb, Rimac Automobili was created here in Zagreb, and they were, they started to appear in news, like some money was raised by the company. Oh, they showed their first car in Frankfurt Motor Show, and so there was in parallel, like we are, I remember to this day sitting in Svinaveb, and we over lunch we were discussing this new company that's doing this or that, but I never, let's say, uh, it was just like a side topic, to me. But then due to whatever personal reasons and stuff, I wanted to move, change the company that I worked for. And couple of us guys actually, we quit Svinaveb and we started our own company, which I don't think it's even in my LinkedIn. It was very short-lived, unfortunately. Like I think it was 4 to 6 months. We each of us brought some money in. We basically burned through all our cash. Didn't manage to score some big money projects, and we decided that, like, okay, we're gonna give ourselves 1 month, the three of us, and we're gonna in this month do two things: search for bigger clients, and if we find something, then the company stays and we do this, or we all get ourselves a job in other companies. And then within this 1 month, all three of us found very, let's say, good jobs in 3 different companies, and we just agreed to
Separated, yeah.
to part ways. And yeah. But a funny story here for Rimac,
Mhm.
going back to even my Creek Studio things, Creek Studio time. It's a small world.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say is, and I'm telling this to also to students when I give this lecture every year. I was always giving more, as much as possible, more than it was expected. So in my Creek Studio time, one of our clients, I will not disclose which, it doesn't matter, but they had a senior software architect there, and I had a very big problem that I, as a junior developer, couldn't solve. But I worked for a month, like day and night. I was sending this guy emails during night, during weekends. Like, I was really biting hard to solve this problem. And in the end, after a month of blood, sweat, and tears, I managed to finish the project with the help of the rest of the team. But I was really, really, really active there, and I forget about it. And then after Svinaveb, after this side business that I try to do with my friends, I go and interview here at Rimac, and I sit at the table, like during the interview process, and there is a guy there who is somehow familiar. I don't know, like I didn't make a connection, but it turns out that it was the architect from that other company back then who moved and was head of software in Rimac, who did recognize me, and he said, like, towards the end of the interview, like, how is this boss from Creek Studio? And then I instantly make a connection, and later I had a talk with him. I was already working like for more than a year in Rimac, where he said, that was a big part of the why I managed to get a job at Rimac back then, is because of all the, let's say, effort and willpower and mindset that he witnessed before, years before. So this is what I tell the students. It's very important. Like, yeah, maybe you will not get the initial money that you expect from your position, from your college degree or whatever. Or you might think that your work and effort is not recognized, but you will be surprised in the end where the recognition and let's say the opportunity comes back to you. It's much better if you throughout your career are always giving this impression of goodwill and willing to work and willing to help, rather than someone who when the hard times come abandon stuff. And that means that later on when we all grow up, I already grew up, but when we all are in good jobs, in good companies, no one will go back and remember that guy for quitting. You remember that other guy who solved the biggest problem, and then you want that guy to come here. So after a certain amount of time, big offers start coming, because you made a reputation for yourself for not quitting and for not abandoning the team. There is always a limit, of course. If you are overworked and abused, then it's stupid to stay. But within a good will, good conscience, it always pays off. Like it can be years later that it pays off. So I 100% guarantee this. At least it paid off for me always.
It brings the future-proof value, which
Yeah.
comes, I think, with experience. Most likely, when you were working back then, you didn't think that you would meet that person in the future.
No,
But
of course.
but the lesson that can be extracted from here is it's what I always say: attitude and hard work cannot make you a loser. You cannot be lost by working hard and having a great attitude. It comes all comes around the circle. All comes around the circle. You will meet these people again. I believe you meet people twice in life, and this is what happened in your case. So that's another like invaluable lesson that I'm telling myself all the time. Have a good attitude, be kind towards everyone, work hard.
Yeah.
That's good. That's gonna pay off in the future big time.
Sure. And sometimes it
So
means that you will work for less than you hope for, but yeah, long term, it pays off.
it's a long-term gain. You were not expecting it, but had you not been so hardworking back then, most likely maybe you wouldn't have gotten the position. We will never know. Maybe you would,
Yeah,
but you increased your chances of getting it. And he told you
yeah, for
so.
sure.
So you have your proof mark right there. I want to also talk about some of the technical challenges. I know you cannot dive into extreme depth, so you are going to be the judge of what you want to say about IVI and HMI implementation in Rimac. So, what sort of challenges did you meet when you initially went to the company?
Uh, so, I mean, publicly disclosed information. When you are a micro manufacturer like we were back then, you cannot go to Bosch or to some other big tier one supplier who is supplying other big manufacturers like Volkswagen or Ford or whatever with components. Because if you go to them and you ask, okay, how many cars are you making, and concept one was like 8 cars, so just eight units, it's you're laughed out of the doors, basically. I mean, I'm telling a story of our CEO, but that was the deal. So you couldn't get the parts, which meant that you need to develop your own. That's how we went into this what's now Rimac technology business, where we were producing technology for our own cars. So let's say the technical issue is that you need to figure out the component, and then you need to figure out the functionality and software for it, and it all needs to be more or less in line, to be able to achieve the end goal. The other problem is people. You need this car cannot be less functional just because we have a lot less people. Customers, especially in this segment, I would even argue, expect more. So if you're paying big money for something, then let's say the basics is what you expect by default, and then you're searching for added value elsewhere. So that this was something that was, let's say, challenging, and it became a lot easier now, but we are much bigger company. So I was one of the first, 150 or 120 people here, and we are thousands now. So it's totally, different scale and different thing.
You're bringing something about also customer expectations. And I think that's very important to highlight. As a customer, you don't care about something that's taking the company, thousands of man hours to produce. You just want it to work. And as you very successfully said, you need added value to it. I don't care how you do it. I just expect it. And as you also mentioned, Rimac in 2016 was 7 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So you had some responsibility of also shaping your role, didn't you?
I mean, at some point I became a feature owner of our Nevera car, which is now on the market, the fastest accelerating electric hypercar or car in general in the world. So as part of my role as a feature owner, I did propose a lot of features that ended up in the car, but it was always a teamwork. It's not a singular one-man army. It's always collaborating between design, between management, between engineering. You need to embrace the limitations. You need to talk to customers also what they want, and sales has their own word. Auto industry is extremely complex, one of the complex industries, if you consider, like, it's very regulated. Like, you have this homologation and stuff, so and safety, like it's very regulated. On the other hand, you have very let's say, various degrees of freedom to do the designs, and customers are, it's let's say the competition is ruthless. So it's very hard thing to do, but it's a team effort, and yeah, we shaped it together, I would say. But I see my fingers almost everywhere where I look.
Plus, if I may add, there has been a lot of talk about the interfaces in the Nevera. So I assume you have an extra layer of responsibility of delivering the best you can as an HMI expert. That's a highlight of the car, basically, the interfaces.
Yeah. So again, you have HMI, but you also have the UX, and you have the design, like the style of it. So sometimes we tried something that is too ambitious. So let's say we were envisioning a product that is hitting the technical constraints, like the performance constraints of the system. So we needed to go step back. Sometimes we expanded on the features to allow even better, or let's say more robust experience for the customer. But yeah, good thing is also you have the over-the-air update capabilities. So the end goal is to give value to the customer even after the car was sold to the customer. So we can still figure out where and how to add the value there and actually deliver it to the customer.
Goes back to also, if we take it on a personal level, to the bespoke treatment you were taught through Creek Studio. And
I mean, so the more customers are using the product, the more you see, like, where are those hidden frictions that maybe you, who is working on it, were biased and you didn't see. And then okay, shoot, man, if all the customers are asking for it, and if it's aligned with our product vision, we will never put a combustion engine in a Nevera because customers want the sound. But we might add a shortcut to the infotainment somewhere, because we see that customers are using it, and we know that it's 3 clicks away. In a way. So
Yeah, the more the product is out there and gets bought by customers, the more data you can retrieve, the more you can refine it, the more you can capitalize on it, build something better as well. So that's like
Yeah.
exciting times because Rimac is merged with Bugatti. I assume you are very excited about what the future holds. You have the Nevera 2.0 out as well. So if you can talk to me to close it in a very nice note about your vision for the future and your
Yeah.
expectations.
So I think I'm extremely fortunate to be able to work for Bugatti and on future Bugatti models.
Mhm.
I cannot disclose anything about it, but
Sadly, no.
yeah, I am very excited. Yeah, and I see bright future and many happy customers. Let's put it that way.
I mean, just from these two phrases you said, I don't know, this makes me want to come and work for this company because I can see a very youthful environment that strives for extreme success. That's how I call it.
Yeah,
Strives for greatness. And I see an environment that there is growth. There is no ceiling. You can expand and continue to expand and continue to expand. That's the beauty of a company that's not yet fully established. It's a brand new company, basically. It's
yeah.
almost like close to 10 years old. So, Marko, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for allocating your valuable time. I think the
So
students who
okay,
will hopefully see it will extract a lot of value from your advice. I certainly did 100%.
sure. Thank you for
So,
inviting.
no, it's a pleasure. Thank you for also doing this. It really
Yeah,
means a lot.
sure.
That sets me up for the day. I will be smiling for the rest of the day.
Okay, cool. Thank you, and yeah, good
No
luck,
worries.
man.
Have a beautiful day, Marko. We'll be in touch. Bye. Bye.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this insightful interview with Marko. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned from it. And stay tuned for the next one.